Okay, so I want you to take a second and just picture the things that you think make grief really difficult.
Hmm.
If you were making like a top 10 list of the hardest moments after losing someone,
Right.
what's on it?
Well, the funeral, obviously. That's got to be number one.
The funeral, for sure. Maybe the first anniversary alone, or, waking up on Christmas morning.
Right, the milestones, the big, scary dates on the calendar that we all brace ourselves for.
We build armor for those days. Yeah. But today, we are going to challenge that whole idea. Because according to our source material, the thing that might actually break you, it's not the anniversary, it's the French toast.
Or a sun shield for your car.
Exactly. The mundane stuff, the everyday things that suddenly become emotional landmines. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking Chapter 7 from Daniel Astoria's book, Riding the Waves of Grief. I have to say, reading this, it doesn't feel like just a memoir.
No, not at all. It's not just him retelling a sad story.
It's more like a mechanic's manual for a broken engine.
That's a great way to put it. It's so analytical. Astoria isn't just venting his pain, he's breaking down how the brain processes that first year. Specifically, this idea of firsts.
And why they hit so unbelievably hard.
And he draws this line between the firsts we expect and the ones that just completely blindside us.
And when you hear firsts, you think of something huge, right? Like the first time I climbed a mountain alone. But Astoria starts us somewhere much smaller. He's at his parents' house right after his wife Natalie passed. His mom makes him French toast.
Classic comfort food. A mother trying to care for her grieving son.
You'd think. But he sits there, he's just staring at this plate, and he completely loses it. Breaks down. And it's not because the toast was bad. It was the syrup.
This is such a perfect and painful example of what psychologists call associative memory. But it's more than just remembering something.
It's so fast. He looks at the plate, and he sees he's poured too much syrup. Just this little puddle of sugar. And instantly, it's like a switch. He hears Natalie's voice in his head.
Because she hated waste.
She hated waste. She would always complain, if he drowned his pancakes.
And that's the trigger. It's not the condiment. It's the sudden, intrusive memory of a shared history. You have to understand, for years, that syrup bottle wasn't just syrup, it was a cue. It signaled a whole routine.
Script.
A script, exactly. His brain predicts the next line. He pours the syrup, his brain expects her comment. But the comment, it only comes from inside his head now.
That silence where her voice should be. That's where the grief lives. He writes, "It was the first time I had breakfast without her." And that phrase, the first time, just feels so heavy.
And this brings us right to the core of the chapter, the ambush. You can't brace for syrup.
Speaking of ambushes, the sun shield story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gave me chills. It's such a tiny detail, but anyone in a long-term relationship will get it instantly. It's about how you divide up chores.
Right. And this is a first you don't see coming because it's tied to the calendar, to the seasons changing.
So the context is, Natalie died in December, winter. And she was the one who was always diligent about the car, always putting up the sun shields to protect the dashboard. He admits he was kind of lazy about it.
But there's a little twist. During her illness, which was the summer before, he became the diligent one. Putting the shield up was an act of care to keep the car cool for her.
That is such a crucial detail. So she dies in December, the winter passes, then May arrives, the first properly hot day of the year.
And this is where muscle memory kicks in. We think of grief as an emotion, but it's so physical. It's stored in your body.
He pulls into the driveway, feels the heat, and without a single conscious thought, his hand just reaches for the sun shield.
And boom, that's the moment of impact. He writes that as his fingers touched the foil, he realized the last time he touched it, she was touching it with him. She was weak, but she was helping.
It's just devastating. He asked, how could something as simple as a sun shield break my heart?
Because his brain was on autopilot. Grief lets us function by putting things in boxes. She's gone, but I have to eat. She's gone, but I have to work. But the seasons changed. The environment changed. And that physical act, it just shattered the box.
You can brace for Christmas, but you can't brace for the weather changing. You can't brace for it hitting 80 degrees.
Exactly. And that loss of control leads to this really interesting philosophical debate he brings up. It's a conversation he had with Natalie before she died.
Oh, right. This was tough to read. She was trying to comfort him, I think. She told him, you'll get used to it.
Which is what people say, right? Time heals all wounds. You'll find a new normal. She was trying to make his future pain more bearable. It's an act of love, really.
But Astoria, writing after she's gone, he just pushes back so hard on that. He says, I will never get used to her being gone.
And that distinction is everything. He says, I will get used to dealing with it.
At first, that sounds like, I don't know, semantics. Getting used to it versus getting used to dealing with it. Is there a real difference?
Oh, it's massive. It's a survival strategy. Getting used to it implies her absence becomes, okay, neutral, like a new haircut. He's refusing that. He's saying the absence will always be wrong.
He's validating the pain.
He's validating the pain. He's saying the pain is constant, but his ability to carry it, his emotional endurance, that will improve.
So building endurance, not indifference.
Yes, exactly. He's not getting better. He's just getting stronger at carrying the weight.
And we see that endurance tested in the grocery store, which I think might be the most dangerous place on earth for someone grieving.
It's a museum of shared preferences. Every aisle has something they liked. Every choice is one you used to make together.
For him, it was a snack, just some specific brand of crackers she loved. He sees the box on the shelf, remembers how happy she'd be when he'd buy it for her, and he just feels himself about to collapse.
What's so powerful about that scene is the isolation.
Yeah. He looks around and people are just living, squeezing avocados, comparing prices, and inside his own head, he's screaming.
He brings up that saying, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle.
It's a cliche, but for a reason.
It is, but here it's so visceral. He describes people inches away from him, totally oblivious. That glass wall between the griever and the rest of the world, it's just so isolating.
But he holds it together. He pays, he walks to his car, and then the dam breaks. He just sobs in the parking lot, and he writes, all because of a stupid snack.
But it's never about the snack, is it?
Never.
The snack is just proof of the person who isn't there to eat it. It forces him to realize his love. It has nowhere to go.
So we have these ambush firsts, but Astoria also talks about the ones you can see coming, the big firsts.
The birthdays, the holidays, the ones circled in red on the calendar.
He says his first birthday without her was the second worst day of his life, only after the day she died.
And that's significant because he knew it was coming. He tried to prepare, but he describes grief as a wave. You can see it coming. You can brace yourself. But if the wave is 50 feet tall, well, you're still going to get crushed.
So preparation doesn't actually negate the impact.
Not at all. It might keep you from drowning, but it doesn't keep you dry.
Which brings up his strategy of avoidance. And this was really interesting to me because we're always told to face your fears, get back out there. But he has this whole different policy for the movie theater.
Yes. This is where he rejects the standard advice. He and Natalie loved movies. It was their thing. And since she died, he hasn't set foot in a theater.
Not once.
And he defends it with this analogy I think is just brilliant. He says, when you are drowning, you don't swim out further to meet more waves.
That is such a powerful counterargument to the whole get back on the horse idea.
It is. He's not against getting back on the horse, but he adds the variable of timing. If your leg is broken, you don't get on the horse. You let it heal. Forcing it just breaks it again.
So for him, the movie theater is just, it's too deep right now. He's not giving up on movies forever. He's just admitting he can't handle that wave yet.
It's giving yourself permission to protect yourself. Avoidance isn't cowardice. Sometimes it's triage.
Okay, I want to jump forward in the timeline now because he does give us a glimpse of what comes next. We jump to 18 months after the loss, and we are back in the grocery store.
Return to the scene of the crime.
But this time, it's about bread.
Wheat bread.
His parents sent him for wheat bread. And Natalie, she was a health nut. She only ate whole grains. And he remembers this playful argument they always had in the aisle.
I loved this part. It felt so real. He'd grab the whole wheat and she'd say, no, whole grain. And he'd tease her, it's half grain, half wheat. There's grain in it.
Look for the whole.
She would say. It's such a specific, couple bickering moment.
It is, the little languages you invent together.
So 18 months later, he's there. He's looking at the bread. He remembers the argument. But his reaction, it's different.
And this is the key metric of healing he gives us.
He smiles. It's a sad smile, he says, but it's a smile.
He didn't cry. He didn't have a breakdown in the car.
No. He says, I knew I was slowly getting used to dealing with her being gone. The memory is the same. The trigger is the same. But the response has shifted from this acute disabling pain to a bittersweet nostalgia. That's what progress looks like. Remembering without collapsing.
And that brings us to the final big idea in the chapter, which I found fascinating. It's about the one-year threshold. And he gets this insight from, of all places, the guitarist from the band Rush.
Alex Lifeson.
Yeah, Who knew Rush was a source for grief counseling?
Hmm.
I mean, their lyrics are deep, but still.
Wisdom comes from unexpected places. Lifeson was talking about losing his bandmate Neil Peart, and he said he only started to feel a sense of relief after a full year had passed.
And Astoria just latches onto this. He breaks down why that one-year mark feels like magic. It's not just time passing. There's a structural change that happens at day 365.
Well, two reasons. The first one is basically logistical. It's the elimination of the firsts.
Right, you've run the gauntlet.
The first year is a minefield. You clear the birthday mine, then the anniversary mine, then Easter. It's a constant barrage. But once you cross that 1-year line, you have survived every major date on the calendar. The seconds are hard, but they're not the firsts.
It's the difference between exploring a dark cave for the first time and walking through it a second time. It's still dark, but now you have a map.
Exactly. But the second reason, this one is much more psychological. It's what he calls the last year trap.
This took me a second when it clicked. Wow. He talks about this mental game he played constantly during that first year.
Yes. He was always looking at the calendar and thinking, this time last year we were doing X. This time last year she was still here.
Even if she was sick. He makes the point that even if last year she was weak or in treatment, she was still there.
He calls it romanticizing the we.
Romanticizing the we. That's a great phrase.
It is. He was clinging to the fact that a year ago, the entity of us still existed. He was living in two timelines at once. His lonely today and the ghost of his shared yesterday.
That sounds absolutely exhausting, like you're haunting your own life.
It's incredibly draining, but why does the 1-year mark change it?
Because the math changes.
The math changes. Once you hit day 366, you can no longer say, this time last year she was here.
Wow.
This time last year becomes she was already gone. The comparison just stops. You can't look back 1 year and find the we anymore. You look back 1 year and you only find the me alone.
That's heartbreaking, but also freeing in a way.
Incredibly freeing. It severs that tether. He says the we was historically gone, only the me and the memories remain. It forces you to finally inhabit the present tense.
It's like the echo finally fades. You're no longer hearing the reverberation of us.
And that's where the healing or the dealing with it can really begin. You stop looking over your shoulder at the ghost of last year.
So to pull this all together, we talked about syrup, sun shields, movie theaters, Rush. What's the pattern here?
I think the lesson is that grief isn't a linear path of getting better. It's more of a change in texture. It starts as these sharp ambush-style shocks.
Or French toast.
The French toast. Then it moves into management, into strategy, avoiding the movies for a bit, bracing for the birthdays, and then, eventually, it softens into that moment in the bread aisle, where the memory brings a smile instead of a sob.
It's not that the grief goes away. It's that it finds a place to live where it doesn't take up the whole house.
Perfectly put. It stops being the landlord and starts being a roommate.
Before we wrap up, there's one thought I want to leave you with. It's about that shift from we to me. Astoria seems to suggest that real healing starts when you stop comparing your solitary today to a shared yesterday.
That's the hardest step, I think, to stop living in that comparison, because today will always look worse.
It always will. But maybe that's the goal, to get to a point where me is enough again. It's not the same as we. It never will be, but it's enough. Enough to stand in the bread aisle and smile.
And capable of buying the right kind of bread without breaking down, that's a real victory.
It absolutely is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And hey, next time you're in the grocery store and you see someone just staring blankly at a box of crackers,
Give them some space. Be kind.
you just never know if that's their first. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.